How's this? The rain in Spain stays mainly on the plains. This is a hockey show? Oh, right. Okay. The pain for Shane will maybe be Montreal's gain. Good job. Countdown to the draft lottery's on, and Laval made the playoffs. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Habs Hockey Report right here on All Habs Hockey Magazine, part of Rocket Sports Media. So glad you're back with us this week. Can't wait to get into today's show. I'm your host for the show, Amy Johnson, here with you each and every week. I'm also the lead correspondent over at ahlreport.com, and glad you're here. If you haven't done so already, you know the drill. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Tap that notification bell. We don't ever want you to miss an episode. We've had some great exclusive interviews lately. We've got more of those kinds of things coming later on, even throughout the summer. So don't miss an episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Before we get started, you know the drill as well here. We want to get you thinking about this week's feedback forum question. And it's kind of a reflection on the Canadiens season this year. You know, it was disappointing is probably an understatement for most Habs fans, but if you could pick one positive thing to take out of the Canadiens season, what was it for you? What was the positive moment or scenario or situation that came out of the season for the Canadiens or happened during the season for the Canadiens this year that really stuck out to you as the one high point that you could feel good about? Leave your comments down below. We'll read your responses next week on the show. Start thinking about it. Drop us a comment. Let's get started. Well, you heard it right at the top of the show, the pain for Shane. That was one of the biggest slogans on Twitter this year as to who was going to run the table for the best draft lottery odds to take Shane Wright first overall in the 2022 NHL entry draft. Well, and that award is, as far as having the best odds, that's going to go to the Montreal Canadiens. They succeeded in the quote-unquote tank. They did officially finish in last place in the league for the season, which means that they will have on Tuesday night the best odds of being awarded the first overall pick in this year's draft, being held, of course, at the Bell Center in Montreal. You see right there on the screen, they have an 18.5% chance of snagging that first overall position. And so, yes, the likelihood is that Shane Wright is going to go first overall. It would be a huge get for Montreal. In fact, you know, this isn't a truly deep draft this year, but any of the guys that are kind of being tossed around in that top three position would be a big boon for the Montreal Canadiens as they start to rebuild under Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon. But Shane Wright would be the likely target. So it's pretty exciting. Be sure you're following at All Habs on Twitter. We'll have the coverage of the draft lottery when it happens on Tuesday night, and then we can start talking about next week, you know, once we know for sure exactly where the Canadiens are going to draft in the first round, hopefully it's that first overall position, then we can start talking about possible targets for that position. So pretty exciting news to start the off season. I think this is kind of like the breath of fresh air now that season is finally behind us. Now it's like all the hope of the future. What's going to happen in the offseason? What's going to happen in the draft? And what's going to happen when the team comes back in the fall and starts preparing for another season and really starts to right the ship? I think it's a really invigorating time. That's why we're not going anywhere all summer long, both here on YouTube, on the All Habs YouTube channel, and all of our podcasts, CanadiansConnection.fm and thepresszone.fm. We won't go anywhere all summer long because there's lots and lots of Montreal Canadiens and Laval Rocket news to cover for you all summer long. It's talking about what they'll look like in the fall. One of the things that we did, of course, learn in locker cleanout day is that Carey Price is still not 100%. He did play in that last game of the season. However, he's still experiencing some swelling in that knee. And that's something, we've even seen Josh Brook in Laval deal with that coming back off of his knee surgery from last summer. It's a common thing, but especially more pronounced for a goaltender who really needs the flexibility and the mobility and the movement in his knees and uses those knees in a lot different way than a skater does. So Carey Price is going to focus this summer on really getting healthy again, working with his doctors. He said another procedure is not necessarily off the table, so we'll see what that means, but all of the hope is that he'll be back and ready to go in the fall for training camp and really help to get the Canadiens season started off the right way. So we'll stay tuned and keep an eye on that for sure. More exciting news. I love it. I love the exciting news. It's great to have exciting news about the Montreal Canadiens. More exciting news is that Riley Kidney signed his 3-year entry-level contract with the Montreal Canadiens. This is a very, very good prospect in the pipeline for Montreal. Riley Kidney, of course, the 19-year-old forward who currently was ranked 7th overall in the QMJHL scoring race this year. 100 points on the season this year, 30 goals, 70 assists. Yes, you heard that right. This is a guy who's going to be very exciting to see his transition to the pro game when that happens. So great to see the Canadiens inking him to his ELC, and hopefully we'll start seeing him in the pro ranks at some point soon. Of course, this past week was also a moment of reflection and some sadness as the ceremonies and services and honors for Guy Lafleur took place in Montreal. Guy laid in state for 2 days at the Bell Center with fans being able to pour into the building to pay their respects to the late, great Guy Lafleur and the Flower. And then, of course, his state funeral was held in downtown Montreal on Tuesday. Lots of attention, lots of media attention, lots of really wonderful words spoken, great appearances, memories and reflections. And it was a very touching and poignant series of activities this week, watching fans and fellow teammates and members of the Montreal Canadiens all join together in paying their respects for a true Montreal Canadien legend, Guy Lafleur. Now, while there is exciting things happening for the Montreal Canadiens now that a new season is upon them, the season is not over for their AHL affiliate and their prospects down in the Laval Rocket playing in the AHL in the Calder Cup playoffs. We talked about this last week that Laval had clinched a playoff berth, and now we know what the setting is. They managed to skip the best of 3 play-in round and advance right to the second round, which is the North Division semifinals, and we know who their opponent is going to be. None other than Benoit Groul's Syracuse Crunch. This is always a team who is exceptionally difficult to play against, particularly in their building and particularly in the playoffs. The last time that the Montreal Canadiens AHL affiliate made the postseason was back in 2017. It was the second and final year for the St. John's Ice Caps version of the Habs AHL affiliate, and they made it to the first round of the playoffs, got bounced in the first round of playoffs by whom? the Syracuse Crunch. So we've waited a long time. We've waited 5 years to see them make a return to the postseason. They do that, and they've got the same opponent again, same head coach. And it's always, I mean, if you consider it, that Syracuse is the AHL affiliate of the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the reason the Lightning have won a couple of cups in the last couple of years is because of the strength of their development system and the strength of their AHL affiliate and their farm team as guys come up through those ranks. So this promises to be a physical series. It's a best of 5 series, physical series. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be intense hockey. It starts on the road in Syracuse with 2 games, Friday, Saturday night. We will have all of the coverage for you at ahlreport.com and on Twitter at the AHL Report. I'll have coverage of Friday and Saturday night's game, including post-game interviews. We're going to keep you focused on what's happening down there with Laval and all of the prospects as they take the franchise's first trip into the Calder Cup postseason and try to win that Calder Cup. It's going to be very, very exciting. Also, be sure to check out this for really in-depth analysis of both this series and everything going on right now with the Calder Cup playoffs, since that kicked off this week. Check out this week's episode of the Press Zone podcast. You can click on that right up here. Our good friend and fellow contributor Patrick Williams joined Rick Stevens and myself for the 2022 AHL playoff primer episode with the AHL hot stove segment. So you want to check that out for sure. Now, some enticing and some promising things kind of as far as the roster goes for Laval is that 2 new faces have been seen at Place Belle skating this week. Emil Heineman, you remember, was part of the prospect package that came over for Tyler Toffoli. He has been with Montreal skating there because he arrived from Sweden with an upper body injury. So he did not go and sign a PTO in Laval right away when he came over. However, this week is the first time that we have seen him take the ice at Place Belle and skate in a practice with the Laval Rocket, albeit wearing a non-contact jersey. So it looks like Emil Heineman is perhaps getting closer and closer to making a return to playing ability, which means that we could then see him slotting into the Laval Rocket lineup here in the next week or so, depending on how that goes. We'll try to get some more information on how healthy he is. But surprise, surprise, suddenly a little bit of more of a boost on the back end for JFL's Laval Rocket with Mattias Norlinder hopped on a plane after his season with Frölunda in the SHL ended in the semifinals in their playoff run. Hopped on a plane, came to North America, and he took the ice for practice with the Laval Rocket on Tuesday morning as well. This was kind of an unexpected addition for at least those of us who cover the team. We hadn't heard whispers about this, but here is Mattias Norlinder returned back. We remember he stuck around after training camp, played some games in the NHL, went to the AHL for a little bit before heading back to Frölunda in Sweden. And we joined other members of the media this week and talked to Mattias Norlinder and just talked about, what it's like to be back, what his experience earlier in the year being here in North America was like, and what it is that he's looking to show the Habs with coming back to help Laval in the playoffs.
I think it's great for my develop, especially now when I will probably pack my bags and go over here for full time. So I think this is a great opportunity for me for this season to do something good and for next year's. I think that was good to be here for a couple of months just to make it easier for now when I get back here. So I think that was a great time, and we keep working on some details in Frölunda too, like inside and in the defense zone. And off the offense, take more shots. Don't just pass around the puck. But yeah, well, I think the last 2 seasons, my defensive mindset, I think I've been doing great steps forward there. So if I can take that with me here and keep playing hard in the defense and keep joining the rushes, I just want to show them Montreal, just show myself that I can still be maybe more offensive than I've been in the last 2 years, maybe. But I still, like I said before too, my defense has been much better the last two years here. So, and I know I can do the offense. Just be patient and keep working, and then it will probably come.
Mattias Norlinder is one of those interviewees that's always pretty soft-spoken, doesn't always have a lot to say, but is pretty meaningful with what he does say. You can tell that he's excited to be back. He mentioned earlier in this interview that he was part of the talk with his agent is that he could come over here and have the chance to lift something, to lift a cup and win something, and that was very attractive for him to do. But you can tell he's also trying to use this as a way to tune up for training camp in the fall. It's going to be pretty exciting to see when and how JF Uhl uses Mattias Norlinder. Will he get into the lineup this weekend? That's yet to be seen, but we'll be sure to be watching it. It's going to be exciting. Well, as I said last week, the Habs Fan Hub would be back this week. And so I want to use this opportunity to invite you and remind you that we want all sorts of interaction from you, our viewers. That's really what this show is about, is a way for us to grow our community, talk and hear feedback from you. So you can do that in a number of ways. First of all, if over the summer you happen to post any pictures wearing your Habs gear, or maybe your kids or your pets are, and you're posting pictures of being a Habs fan, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, make sure you use our hashtag #ShowYourHabs, and we will feature your photos right here on the show. Also, mailbag call, please. We have a mailbag question. We have some options and some questions in the mailbag, but we want to add more to the pile. So be sure to drop us a comment down below if you have any questions about the Habs, the Rocket, hockey, the prospects, the Calder Cup playoff run, the draft lottery, the draft this summer. If you have questions that you'd like answered about the Montreal Canadiens or any of their prospects throughout the system, drop a comment down below. We'll put it in the All Habs mailbag, and we will answer those on an upcoming episode. Hey, All Habs roll call as well. I always love to hear where you're watching from, and we've certainly named quite a few places that viewers have said they're watching from. So if this is your first time watching the show, or maybe you haven't let us know where you're watching from, let us know down below. We'd love to hear how far and wide Habs fans are spread all over the world. And of course, this week's feedback forum question is, if you had to choose one positive moment from this past season, which could be difficult. There was a lot of negative things that happened this season. It was a really tough season for fans to watch for the Montreal Canadiens. But if you had to pick one positive thing to take from this season, what would be the most important one for you? For me, I'm going to say it's the exit of Marc Bergevin. The Marc Bergevin era was exceptionally overdue to be done. And I feel that particularly in the last handful of years, Bergevin's guidance of the team was more detrimental than it was helpful. And so I feel that that was probably the biggest positive that came out of this season, was Marc Bergevin finally needing to move on and being helped along in that manner. And Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes coming in. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in the offseason. I've liked so far what we've seen them do as a management team, and I think that can be one of the big positives that we take from this season. But I'd like to know what were the big moments for you? Was it Cole Caulfield's resurgence? Was it Carey Price coming back? Was it something else? Was it Dominic Ducharme leaving? Let me know down below what your thoughts on that are. I can't wait to share them and read them right here on the show next week. And if you missed it, of course, we had a one-on-one interview with Lucas Vedamo last week, who's out with injury right now. Be sure to check that out right here, and we'll see you next Thursday on Habs Hockey Report.